Oh, fifth grade, how are you? Missing you, crazy that I don't get to see you. I hope all is well and that you are not being...
Naughty, naughty, naughty.
You're behaving for your family. Baby Yoda also hopes that you're behaving. Okay, so you and I, many of the classes have gone through 26 presidents. Okay, I'm going to give you some more today. I'm going to go up to 31. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe. And John Quincy Adams are the first 6. The next little section was Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler James Polk. The states were doing fine. All right, that's the next section. So little sections in our rap. There's a bit of a tune, and then it goes through a section of presidents in a rap form, which is the speaking in a rhythm. Then we have Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, that's the next section. Now we're looking at 1865, what's interesting is that our first president, George Washington, president during the classical period. So that means Mozart was alive when he was president, Beethoven as well. Now we're on 16 right now, Abraham Lincoln. That is the Romantic period where music, art, everything was about feeling emotion, not necessarily about love, but feeling emotion. Now, next section, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, James A. Garfield, and Chester A. Arthur. And I had given you guys a lot of fun facts about this. I'm not sure every class has gotten this solid on of this far, but I definitely have given you those facts. 22, Grover Cleveland. Benjamin Harrison is 23. Grover Cleveland became president again, and that now you're pushing us right up into the 1900s. William McKinley, and we stop with Theodore Roosevelt, which is up through 1909. Today, I'm going to start at Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy was his nickname. He was 26. 27 is William Howard Taft. And what I can tell you about him is that he was the first president to be a president and appointed to the Supreme Court. He was a very well-respected court judge. He did not want to be president. He didn't think that was his thing, but he was. And he was the president that passed an 8-hour workday. Before then, your employer could make you work longer, but that most people were 9 to 5 is your typical workday. So that was William Howard Taft. Woodrow Wilson was the 28th president, and he had to deal a lot with World War I. Some of the things that he did, he made banks safer and protected them. He was always pursuing peace, and he did not want war. So that was something he worked on, and he was the first one to bring the bill that women would be allowed to vote. Woodrow Wilson, I'm pretty sure I told you guys that. 29 is Warren G. Harding. When he got elected, he went on vacation the next day. Okay. He thought he should have never been president. That's what he felt about it. He signed a legislation, like laws in our country, to help mothers and their children with health care. So that was pretty great. And he made the 19th Amendment, which is where women were allowed to vote. He made that legal. Okay. So he was helped a lot with that. He only lived for his presidency 2 years of his presidency. He died from food poisoning and then heart failure. So that was very sad. The next president that took over for him was Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge this was in the 1920s, and people were doing well with their finances, and he had a really great economy. He allowed Native Americans to become citizen. He did not run again after he became president. He just decided not to. He suffered from depression. He lost his son when he was 16 years old. So that was Calvin Coolidge. Unfortunately, his presidency led, whether it was him or whatever else was going on around it, led us into a depression. People lost their money and their homes, and it was a very, very difficult time. And that was 1929 when it hit. It was called Black Tuesday. I think that's what it's called. And that is when the stocks went down and things became very difficult for people, became very poor. The president who dealt with that the most and really kind of inherited that was Herbert Hoover, who was not then very popular. But what we didn't know about Herbert Hoover is that he helped national parks, he helped handicapped and children and unemployed, but unfortunately he was president during probably one of the hardest times for the United States, from like 1929 until at least till 1938, 39, and we came out of it for World War II. So those are our presidents from 27 to 31. And that section is measure 71. Okay, because we just finished with Teddy Roosevelt. So the wrap of that, I'm going to do the little wrap and then I'm going to go back and go that far. This is measure 71, okay? So it's the next in line was William Howard Taft, then Woodrow Wilson got to try his craft. Warren G, Harding, Calvin, Coolidge, Herbert Hoover. That's a tongue twister. All of them presidential shakers and movers. These are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, Let me do that again for you. The next in line was William Howard Taft. Then Woodrow Wilson got to try his craft. Warren G, Harding, Calvin, Coolidge, Herbert Hoover. All of them presidential makers, shakers, and movers. Let's try that again without me tripping over my tongue. The next in line was William Howard Taft. Then Woodrow Wilson got to try his craft. Warren G, Harding, Calvin, Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, all of them presidential shakers and movers. These are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, When in doubt, slow down the tempo, and maybe you won't trip over your tongue like I did. All right, back to the beginning. We've now gone through 31 presidents, and we have had 45. From the beginning. Ready? And these are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, The father of our country, George Washington, was one. 2 was John Adams, then Thomas Jefferson. Then was James Madison, and also James Monroe. And John Quincy Adams was number 6, you know. These are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, Andrew Jackson was the 7th in line. Then Martin Van Buren followed Andy's time. William Henry Harrison was next at number 9. John Tyler James, both the states were doing fine. These are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce. As James Buchanan left, things were getting fierce. Abraham Lincoln went to war so we could be one nation living in peace and liberty. These are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, Andrew Johnson was the boss in those days. Then Ulysses S. Grant and Rutherford B. Hayes. James A. Garfield was the 20th dude. And Chester A. Arthur showed his aptitude. There you go. Who caught me? I'm sure you did. These are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, Grover Cleveland was the president then. Then Benjamin Harrison and Grover won again. William McKinley demonstrated his skill. And Theodore Roosevelt charged up the hill. These are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, And our new one. The next in line was William Howard Taft. Then Woodrow Wilson got to try his craft. Warren G, Harding, Calvin, Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, all of them presidential shakers and movers. These are the presidents, mighty, mighty presidents, Yo, this is a great job. All right. I'm sure you're doing a great job and not being
naughty, naughty, naughty.
And I'll see you soon. Great job.